GOP Texas Congressman and former Navy SEAL Dan Crenshaw joins us now. Congressman, great to have you on this Memorial Day weekend. Look forward to talking to you in just a moment about Memorial Day. But as many know about your history, you're a former Navy SEAL. You have direct knowledge then in operations in general. Not that that necessarily translates into exactly what we saw last week, but perhaps gives you some insight. What broke down? We now hear about this potential radio that may or may not have been on site with the on-site commander. Something seemed to break down.
Yeah, it absolutely seems that way. And looking now on this Memorial Day weekend, we're memorializing small children who were executed by a madman. It's hard to fathom that kind of evil. Look, at me personally, I'm pretty desensitized to a lot of things, but you cannot be desensitized to this. This is something that hits you real deep. And now we're looking at how it could have been prevented and what kind of mistakes were made. So, look, there's two types of tactical scenarios in general when you're going on a target. One is there's no hostages, right? There's no need to worry about innocents in the line of fire. And the other is that there is hostages. Now, this completely changes the kind of tactics that you do. You have to throw self-preservation out the window if there are hostages inside. You have to put their safety before yours. It's much higher risk for the operator going in, and therefore it's scarier. And that appears to be what happened here. It was clearly a scary scenario. They don't want to get shot, and so they don't do it, even though they've had the training that specifically says that you need to put their lives before your life. And the training specifically says in the manual that if you don't like that, you should find another career field. And the fact that that was not followed is heartbreaking. And we need to know why it wasn't followed. We need to know whose call it was, why they made that call. It was a little strange to me that the person in charge on the ground was an ISD officer as opposed to a city officer who maybe has more experience in day-to-day crime fighting and law enforcement. So that could have been a potential breakdown as well. And if he doesn't have a radio, well, my God, that means that he's not getting the word that children are calling 911 from inside. And that's a real problem.
Right. Right. Yeah. The report suggests he did not know that it was a hostage situation or that people were left alive. But you're right, 911 calls were coming in. If he didn't have a radio, he's not getting that information. You know, in the wake of this obviously horrible, horrible national tragedy, Congressman, many politicians and entertainers pulled out of the scheduled NRA convention that followed this past weekend. You're among the politicians that pulled out of the convention. Why?
Well, I was in Ukraine. I didn't have to make that decision on whether I would pull out because of Uvalde. I did a last-minute trip to Ukraine all week and got back late on Friday. So, look, I'm not sure I would have pulled out either way. You know, it doesn't change my stance on what I believe the proper laws to be surrounding guns. These are hard situations to prevent, and they're heartbreaking for a lot of reasons. But no, I was taking a last-minute trip to Ukraine and Kyiv. We were the first to visit the newly reopened U.S. embassy there.
I appreciate that. And what is your stance? For many in the country, we're looking for answers. We're looking for solutions. There's a lot of focus on school resource officers. There's conversations, I think, appropriately about deeper cultural problems when it comes to young men. But for much of the country, they do turn to guns. So what is your stance when it comes to guns and proposed new regulations?
Yeah, look, I think there's two easy buttons that people on the left and the right like to press. On the left, they like to press the common sense gun control easy button. On the right, people like to say, well, mental health. And what do either of these things mean? They're too general. And common sense, well, it's common sense to somebody, but maybe not to others. And if that particular law infringes on the rights of millions and millions of law-abiding citizens, then it can't be done. And furthermore, it's not clear that any of these proposals would really prevent these kind of atrocities. Now, the kind of mass shootings that you're trying to prevent here are very dramatic in nature. They're these anomalies where a madman, usually with little warning, is doing something that's unfathomable to a normal human being. And that makes it very difficult to prevent. And I think what we've seen is this sort of contagion that has happened ever since Columbine. People have had access to guns for decades. Young men have had access to guns for decades. young men have been frustrated for decades. You're going through normal teenage angst or whatever it is in your life. But it's only since Columbine that we've seen this trend of these theatrical mass shootings. So there's clearly a contagion that's occurred here, and that's really difficult to deal with. What we need to do is harden schools in a very serious way. There's no reason that every school can't have an armed guard at it at all times. This school did not have the armed guard there. He was off premise and then had to respond later. There's no reason why you can't have single points of entry. Ensure that cops have access to doors. There are reports that the cops were trying to access this door but couldn't. It's an outward opening door, steel door. It's difficult to breach. So if that's the case, then I understand their position a little bit better. But why don't they have a master key? That's common protocol. So there are things that Republicans have been proposing for a long time to prevent these things and harden these targets.
Yeah, to your point, semi-automatic rifles have been around for decades, long before we started to see this horrific trend. Lastly, wanted to get your message on this Memorial Day.
Look, a lot of people want to know how to commemorate those who we have lost fighting for our country, and I like to suggest the following: pick one. Do a few minutes of research. Pick one person's story, get to know it just a little bit, just for a few minutes, and memorialize them that way. Keep that memory alive for as long as you can. And second, I would say, remember their families. We go out and we do what we do, and we're very happy to be going and doing it. I don't think any of the friends I've lost regret their decisions going into the business that they went into. But their families are still here. Their families have to wake up every day and be without that loved one. And on Memorial Day, I think it's more important that we think about them. Think about those families that are going to visit graves today, while most people, barbecue with their friends. That's who you should be thinking about.
Well, we appreciate that reminder. We appreciate your service, Congressman, and appreciate you being on Fox and Friends this morning. Thank you.